Started turn 6, November 28th. The only thing that's happened here is that during the random events roll, the Union got a night march. So they went ahead and pulled Whitaker and Ruger back. They did not have enough movement to get them over the bridge, unfortunately, but they got Ruger right to the edge and Whitaker in this redoubt hex. It's like a earthworks kind of somewhat. So it adds bonuses here defensively. So those are the first two activations automatically won by the Union. The very first activation that came up is Stewart. Stewart was not involved in yesterday's battle at Pillow Place, so he has no exhaustion, unlike these other units here. So marches in, he's got 3 remaining movement points, spends 2 to do a normal attack. The redoubt hex here, it provides defensive bonuses of times 1.5 to strength and times 1.5 to artillery. You can see this forward hex has a times 3. It does the same thing except times 3. So the bonuses here are +1 for tactical, nothing for strength because the 1.5 moves them up to total 4.5 strength. They've got 8, so you can see without the 1.5 multiplier of the redoubt hex, they would have been at 2 to 1 odds. So that's important. So it's a +1 for the Confederates because of the tactical modifier, a +1 to the Union because of the artillery, and that is the only stuff to go there. There's nothing else. So it's an even battle, and it's important here because Whitaker with the retreat, if he was to lose, will go across the river, so that's not that big of a deal. But they could possibly force their way across the bridge by fighting rather than risking Wood or Stanley here blowing the bridges. So if they can make the pieces that are at the bridge retreat past the bridge, then perhaps they can get across without them being blown. Because if these bridges get blown, it's going to be a really hard time. They're going to have to beeline for these fords here. So it's an even battle. It is a 4 and a 3, so that is not going to do it. This has not been good fighting for the Confederates this time. 4 and a 3, so they're on the 8. The -1 is 1D, and -1 is big F. So this is going to take the Confederates from 8 down to 7. That'll give a victory point, or a unit manpower loss to the Union. Those are starting to stack up now. It's basically the reason why the Union won or actually I think the Confederates won the last scenario they played because of those. So he's going to take one. He's not going to have to retreat. He's going to get a fatigue. It's a pretty good result if you're the Union because that's going to put him on 4. That's the only thing is now he can't move. So Whitaker's stuck. Whitaker cannot move anymore. So now they have to make the decision of, do they press Ruger across? Ruger's on 2, so if he moves across, he's exhausted. But move Ruger across, have Wood blow the bridge, or move Ruger across, have Wood come across. Wood's got 9 strength points. Not exhausted, nothing. He can just come flying across and perhaps hit Stewart, because he's going to have to get reinforcements from somewhere else, because these guys, if it comes to it, they will help out. But they would like to kind of regain their exhaustion, regain from fatigue this turn, while letting Stewart's corps do the pushing this turn. But so now that is the question. Do you remain? Remaining's not bad necessarily because everyone's kind of weakened a little bit. So anyways, those are the decisions now to be made, that this attack means that Whitaker can't move. End of turn 6, really quiet turn overall. Basically just some movement of cavalry. You can see Crossland has crossed over the Duck River. He's going to go up there and annoy some Union troops. Most of these forces in here are going to recover. They were involved in the battle, and so they're going to take some time to recover, just because whatever movement they could do is not very useful, considering they probably will get a first activation next turn and they can take out Whitaker or whatever. Only one bridge, you can see here, there's a bridge destroyed marker. They did manage to destroy that. Stanley got across. This ford here, it never rained, so he could jump across. Whitaker, of course, is stuck because he couldn't move. Ruger jumped across. Wood and the Wagon trains are way over here, so some of them are already in Franklin. So they're going to make it. They're going to make it. They may be pursued. I'm not sure yet. Wilson is up here and has taken up a defensive position on the Duck River Ridge. Stewart was knocked back by Lee's forces. The Indiana troops are moving in. Johnson is kind of flanking around the back, and these reinforcements are continuing to move up. But really, it was just a reorganization turn. The Union got to send some guys down the Franklin Pike, but pretty much all the Confederate forces are just recovering and getting everybody back up, because it was brutal fighting the other day. So turn 7, November 29th. Okay, so we're on to November 29th here, and everything's been done so far. The reinforcements, the Union did get some. They got reinforcements here. Oh, they were down here, obviously. It's some Cav, and then some Thomas has arrived up near Nashville. What's been crazy about this turn is if there's probably been 12 activations so far, all but 2 of them have been Union. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in the couple of playthroughs I've played in this, where it's just been Union constantly. That means that they have been able to make some key maneuvers here. First of all, they won the very first activation, which allowed them to move Whitaker out of Fort Misner and cross the Duck River. So he got away here. Then they won the second activation, and I said, okay, well, Ruger can blow the bridge. That's an option. Then both bridges are destroyed, and you're relying on rain to hopefully keep them on that side of the river. Because you can see here, they've got a very good defensive line held these 3 fords. It's not perfect, but it's good. But I said, no, I'm going to leave that there because they've got a stack of probably 15, maybe 13. They got a pretty decent stack. And I honestly don't know, it could be 10. But anyways, it's more than any one of these units. And they'll have a negative for going across a bridge. So I say, let them attack if they want to attack, because I needed to do other things first. So this Indiana unit that was floating around up here got to double activate and make it to the Duck River Ridge. Now, it doesn't look like things have gone well there, but they set up a defensive position. Also gave them time to move the wagon trains over here. So this Confederate cav unit here, Crossland, is making his way up to harry the wagon trains. He doesn't have enough strength with his unit to burn down the railroad stations that are over here that get you victory points. He's just going to try and muck stuff up while maybe other units come to this southerly path. So the decision once you get to Franklin is, do you want to split the wagon trains off south, or do you want to take them into Nashville? So you don't get anything by taking them to Nashville besides you don't lose victory points. You don't give the Confederates victory points. If you make it, great. If you get to Murfreesboro down here, you actually subtract victory points from the Confederates. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a reason. I just haven't read it. But if you get them down there, it gives you, it's better for you. So the wagon trains are moving their way down. Knipe, I think, is the Union cav leader here. He's coming up to block Crossland should he try and intercept them. So the immediate reason of why I'm filming this is because of this beauty you can see here. So the forces that Lee had were originally here in these 3 hexes. Wilson was already on the ridge, and the Indiana unit marched in and took up position with it, thinking that's a better defensive position. So Lee examines this and says, well, you don't want to attack head on. We can probably have the troops to do it, but why when you don't have to? Once again, this is a game of maneuver. Let's maneuver. So he has 3, I'm not remember if they're brigade or division leaders. I guess I could tell you right now. It just tells me unit, so oh well. But he had 3, so he sent Johnson to the front to occupy Wilson. Wilson has cav and infantry here, total of 5 strength points, so a decent stack. Johnson to the front. Clayton came around the south, so he took this path here to the south, and Lee himself this way. So it took 2 activations, but they made it around. And, well, why didn't the stack leave? Well, because they needed to roll a 6 in order to make it there in 1 turn. because they're on 2 exhaustion right now. They took them 2 turns to get there. So I was thinking, well, we're not going to move them yet because we don't want Johnson to just force us off the ridge. Let's let them roll again, and then maybe they won't have enough and they'll have to attack while we're on the ridge. I just didn't want to give up the position just yet. But naturally, they roll a 6, and now it's completely surround Wilson. So now Wilson could have fled when the die came in. Wilson could flee when Clayton got here. So Clayton came first. Johnson was already here. Clayton came in. Lee had not moved yet. So once the Clayton enters, he could do cav retreat and run away. But I don't see the point because there's a stack of 5 against Johnson of 7. Because Johnson's going to make the attack. He's going to do it on the march. He's got 7 movement points to spend. So he's going to have a prepared attack. So Johnson's going to do the attacking here. It's going to be 1-to-1 odds. +1, -1, +1 for tactical modifier, -1 because he's attacking up a hill, or a ridge, whatever. So that cancels out. There's no artillery modifiers because they're not enough to overcome what the Union or what the Confederates would need, and so it's going to be a flank bonus. But basically, I didn't want to leave the infantry there completely defenseless, because then it would be 7-2. There would be even more modifiers. You would be dooming them. It's still probably doomed, but decided to stick around. So all of those bonuses I've told you. The only bonus I haven't told you is flank, which is a +2 because they have. No, it actually is a full flank, I think, because he does have a ZOC into here. He does not have a ZOC into here, Lee. But Clayton does because there's a road. So it's actually a full ZOC. I thought it was only a +2. And a +2 you can deal with, but it's actually a +4, I think. Because that's the only thing ever that is a little bit confusing. Let me zoom out and show you. Is the Woodside Woods hex side. So movement. Restricted ZOC. Do not restrict movement anyway, yada yada. May only attack across. Flank. Restricted ZOCs count as covered hexes when computing the basic flank bonus. However, the flank bonus is reduced by 1 for each hex covered by restricted ZOC. So that doesn't really solve the question there, but because he has a road, I believe he has a ZOC into here. He does, Clayton. So units cast in all of them. So it will be a +4, which is unfortunate because I thought it was just a +2, which would have been much more manageable. But so let's roll them up. +4 to the Confederates, and looky there, 6-2. The Union have been on fire with their die rolls this time. So that's going to be a 6-6, which is obviously 0. So in this particular attack, if you take a look on this track here, they have 7 to 1D. That's really bad. And the defender just gets a D. So that is really bad because now the Union is going to get a victory point for eliminating a strength point. And then this unit's going to be demoralized. The thing about it is the rest of them will be able to attack. They'll just have to become exhausted next turn, which obviously you don't want to give up this opportunity here. The big thing is the attack here isn't even, you don't even need to eliminate forces. You need to force a retreat because they can't, I mean, like this path here, there's no roads. They have to force a retreat. So, you know, it's going to be difficult to get out still, but that is a very unfortunate reason. Oh, wait. It actually should be +1 because it's +1 for tactical, +1 for prepared attack. I did not do the prepared attack, so it should be +1 actually, not even. So let's take a look at this. If it will focus. So that's still a 1D, and it's still a D. So actually it changes nothing. Never mind. So anyways, I'm going to go put this up, fix everything, but Lee or Clayton could still very well attack. And Clayton's the more obvious one to attack here because he's along the ridge. So he'll eliminate that bonus. So still not a good position for the Union to be in here. So I just wanted to clarify up here, when I say ridge, I mean hill. It's labeled a ridge, but there are no ridges, I don't think, in this game, in this particular game. There are ridges in the series, just not this one. So a lot of movement has happened since. I don't think that there's been a single Union activation. It's pretty much been all, I mean, there have been, but the last like 8 have been all Confederate. So the big things that have happened is Ruger did manage to blow this bridge and start working his way back. I can't remember if these guys have moved some more. It really hasn't been a whole lot. You'll notice this stack up here is still untouched. Confederates don't need to do anything. Wilson can't get out. He can't move anymore. So there's no need to force that stack. The purpose of really making this attack was sure to clear the roadway, but also to flank this Union-held position, which was pretty strong. They had a hatch here. But the problem is that Chetham's Corps got some great die rolls. So one of them was a 6, which means it's an 8 total. Bate could flank around, because you can see these 3, Davis Ford, the ford of the Grist Mill, and then this ford just south of Columbia, were all held by Union troops. And they're hard to dislodge, good numbers, but they did not have enough troops to guard this one at Wallace Mill down here, this ford. So, and there's been no rain today, so it's eventually they knew there was a possibility of them being outflanked, but it would take a while because you're probably not going to roll a 6, you figure, but they did, and they rolled another good die after that. And Bate moved around. Chetham is on his way around. Hood up here with Claiborne also moved up here. Hatch did not see a point in fighting that battle, so he cav retreated, got an amazing die roll. He got a +2 for being a very large force, a +2 for the attack across a ford. So he rolled a 3, so he completely eliminated Hood from moving, so it was heroic. And then he scrambled off. This whole position has been undone. I waited too long as the Union. I thought about leaving earlier, but I thought, no, you've got such good defensive positions. Why just let them waltz in behind you? But I definitely wanted to hold the bridges to be blown. But as soon as that happened, they should have hightailed it out of there rather than holding, because this is going to be a problem that you're about to see. Outside of that, I don't think a whole lot has happened. Forrest is right up here. So Forrest has moved along. He's going to try and harry his way around and hit some of those stations. Confederate cavalry has also made its way past the ford. They were the first to cross. So it's pretty much just streaming in behind this line. Once again, not so much to do anything else besides just cause the Union line to fold. So they weren't really trying to force a battle here, but we're going to get one with a skirmish here at Davis Ford. So Bate is going to be assaulting Waters. Waters has 2, Bate has 4. It's going to be a +1. +1 for tactical as well, so that's +2. +1 for assault, so that's +3. Now there is a very small creek here, so that will give the Union a +1. So all in total, that is a +2 to the Union. Let me just go ahead and give fatigue to Bate before I forget. So +2 total. Pretty good. Nothing amazing. The artillery doesn't do anything. It's 2 to nothing, but you need better odds than that, especially in rolling, to get any modifiers. It's just not a negative modifier, which is something for sure. So +2 to the Confederates. 4-3. So a +1 turns into a +3. It's pretty good. Let's go ahead and zoom out. Take a look here. So they have 4 in attack, so a +3 is a big F and an A. And then the defenders had here, +3 is a DR. So they do not get demoralized, which is big, but they will retreat. And nobody loses any troops as well. So that's important for the Union. They would have liked a little bit more of the Confederates, but the retreat will be a little bit funky because I think they're going to have to go across the ford because they can't, their first option has to be out of a ZOC. So I think they have to go across the ford, which was the one reason they wanted to hit from this way. Now, in hindsight, what they should have done is instead of having Cheatham here, probably, they should have had Cheatham here. I didn't really want to attack across the ford because there's not really great ZOC here because of the forest and everything like that. So I wasn't really I didn't really want to set up an attack this way, but having Cheatham here would mean they'd have to retreat through here and it would have been a mess. So, but this also just puts waters on the other side of the Duck River. So, maybe that's him out of this fight. Who knows? But okay, I'll go ahead and clean this up. And we're just about at the end of the turn. The only thing that has to happen pretty much is the Stuart's Corps has to move up. And there'll probably be that other attack I told you about with Clayton. But besides that, literally the Confederates have just had move after move after move after the Union had pretty much the same thing in the beginning. So it often, the pendulum sways both ways. So there have been some other movements and such, but this is the only scrap that's really happened since. The Crossland Cav unit here exhausted itself getting it across the Harpeth River. They're on 4 exhaustion. But they are assaulting here wagons train B and A. It was just A. B then knew there was no help, so they decided to stack with A in hopes of getting a good modifier from strength ratio, which they do have. It's 4-to-1, so that's a +3 to the wagon train. It's +2 for Crossland for the tactical modifier, and then it's +1 for the assault. So it's completely even, which is pretty good odds considering it's 1-to-4. So this could go either way, but remember, if they lose strength points, it's worth victory points, I believe, to the Confederates, and if they don't make it at all to their targets, then they're worth even more. They don't take away victory points, whichever one. But this was a mistake by the Union, letting Crossland even get this close. Wood could have stepped in, but they didn't think Crossland was going to press as hard as he did. They also didn't know if he'd get as good as dice rolls, so they should have been a little better covering the wagon trains. But let's see how badly it stings them. So it's a 2 and a 2, which with even odds will just mean this is a dead heat right in the middle. So the attacker is on the furthest left red column is a D, and the second to left defender column also a D. So just disorganized and fatigued. They're already as disorganized as they can be. These guys means they will be exhausted next turn, which obviously means they're not going to get as much of movement because they really don't want to risk losing more in marching. So they're kind of going to hope to just maybe keep him there and send Knipe, who is just down here, maybe up to sweep Crossland out of the way. But they're very lucky that they did not go worse, because they could have lost some strength points there and big victory points. Okay, we're here at the end of turn 29, or sorry, turn 7, excuse me, November 29. And not a whole lot has happened as far as the way of combat goes, but there have been a lot of moves around. So the Union line here is completely collapsed. They've just abandoned and moved north, I guess. Confederate troops are streaming in now across the Duck River. Ruger and Whitaker here did manage to blow the bridge, but they've still got a ways back. The attack here never happened because there was no real need for it to. Clayton would have to become he would have to go up to level 3 exhaustion, at least probably, to make that attack. So they're pinned there. They can't really get out. So what's the point? Just wait till next turn when the troops are fresh to finish that off. Crossland, of course, bumped in here. The defenses around Murfreesboro are kind of shaping up. Thomas is on his way in from Nashville with some more forces. So Ross did this massive move where he was up here in Williamsport, and then he came all the way down here. He moved like 23 spaces or something like that. Big move. So a lot of stuff going on there. But this isn't, disarray for the Union, but everything looked pretty well wrapped up when they were here on the Duck River, and now it's kind of like an odd route, kind of a streaming back to Franklin rather than what they had hoped to be an orderly withdrawal. So Franklin still poses, Forrest still poses a very big problem up here. I think he can blow through pretty quickly and then make his way off to do whatever he wants. Once these forces are freed up, Lee's corps, they are going to bring. It's actually good that they're waiting on this for the Union, honestly. They're being prudent, but it's actually good because this is going to give time to get back to Franklin, because they have moved quicker than the Union have, partially because they've waited around. So the Union really need to get quickly as possible up to Franklin, and at this point I'm not even sure Franklin's going to be able to be held. I think they may have to fall back to Nashville, whereas if they would have done things a little bit easier, they could have established a line at Franklin, had a battle, gone back to Nashville. Now there may still be a battle at Franklin, but I don't think it'll be to their liking. I think it may be a forced battle there. They have to fight. And the wagon trains, of course, are in peril, but we're going to see just how much peril they're in. But they're not in a good spot because of Crossland bugging them. So all in all, a pretty bad turn after what started really good. But now it's going to be a scramble to get back to Nashville. So probably package this up and upload. So that's a couple of turns in the books here as we slowly close in on Nashville.